Good evening from New York. I'm Chris Hayes. The Congressional Select Committee investigating the conspiracy to overthrow American self-governance and the attack on the Capitol has just made another huge move tonight, releasing private text messages sent from a Fox News personality to the chief of staff of the former president of the United States and others in the days before and during the January 6th insurrection. The texts were released in a letter to Sean Hannity asking that he cooperate with their investigation. As you probably remember, this is not the first time Hannity has been featured in the investigation surrounding January 6th. Much of that is thanks to Donald Trump's former chief of staff, Mark Meadows. Back in November, Meadows turned over a trove of about 9,000 documents, a combination of texts and emails, things that he said were not privileged. And then right before it was time to appear before the committee, he backed out. But here's the thing. He'd already turned over thousands and thousands of documents. And so on the night that the committee voted to hold Mark Meadows in contempt for refusing to answer their questions, members from the committee went through just some of the material they pulled from the documents he willingly passed along. And they included texts sent to Mark Meadows in the middle of the violent insurrection. The vice chair of the committee, Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney of Wyoming, read many of them out loud. Texts like, quote, "Mark, protesters are literally storming the Capitol, breaking windows and doors, rushing in. Is Trump going to say something?" She read texts from the president's own son, Don Jr., who apparently didn't have dad's phone and had to text the chief of staff, that read, "He's got to condemn this shit ASAP. The Capitol Police tweet is not enough." And text from multiple Fox News personalities like Laura Ingraham and Brian Kilmeade, and of course, Sean Hannity.
According to the records, multiple Fox News hosts knew the president needed to act immediately. They texted Mr. Meadows, and he has turned over those texts. Quote, "Can he make a statement? Ask people to leave the Capitol," Sean Hannity urged.
After she read those truly explosive texts, Sean Hannity sat in silence, ignoring what just happened. In fact, he even went on to have Mark Meadows on his show that night, the guy who passed along those texts to the committee, and just asked him nothing about it. Nothing to see here. Just two bros broing it up. And then the following day, he issued this rebuttal.
Where is the outrage in the media over my private text messages being released again publicly? Do we believe in privacy in this country? Apparently not. I am an honest, straightforward person. I say the same thing in private that I say to all of you. Liz Cheney knows this. She doesn't seem to care. She's interested in one thing and one thing only: smearing Trump and purging him from the party.
I'm an honest, straightforward person. I say the same thing in private and I say to you, but clearly you didn't. That's the whole point. And that's all he had to say. Well, tonight, there are more texts. As I said at the top of the show, they come in the form of a letter. This letter was sent to Sean Hannity today from the January 6th committee, asking him to cooperate in their investigation. I'm going to read you big chunks of this letter because its contents are really something, and you will see why. Quote, "The Select Committee now has information in its possession indicating that you had advanced knowledge regarding President Trump and his legal team planning for January 6th. It also appears you were expressing concerns and providing advice to the president and certain White House staff regarding that planning. You also had relevant communications while the riot was underway and in the days thereafter." The letter then says the committee has dozens of texts between Hannity, Meadows, and notably other unnamed people about Trump's efforts to contest the outcome of the election, including one Hannity sent to Meadows on December 31st, 2020. That's less than a week before the insurrection, reading, quote, "We can't lose the entire White House counsel's office. I do not see January 6th happening the way he is being told. After the 6th, he should announce he will lead the nationwide effort to reform voting integrity. Go to Florida and watch Joe mess up daily. Stay engaged. When he speaks, people listen. Go get him, slugger." Now, that is Sean Hannity warning Mark Meadows 1 week before the insurrection that January 6th is not going to go the way that Trump thinks it will and is being told it will, and that Trump should gracefully step aside. Which, I got a few things to say about that. He's right. You go, Sean. But also prompts the question, what did Hannity know about the plan? We can't lose the White House counsel's office? Someone is looping him in. According to the letter on January 5th, the night before the riot, Hannity sent a series of texts saying, quote, "I'm very worried about the next 48 hours. I'm very worried about the next 48 hours. Then referencing the counting of the electoral votes and Pence pressure White House counsel will leave. Again, man, he's well-sourced, this Sean Hannity. Message indicates that for some reason, Hannity thought the White House counsel would leave. And we have reporting indicating the White House counsel had threatened to do just that. So what did Sean Hannity know? The committee also writes, quote, "It also appears from other text messages that you may have had a conversation directly with President Trump on the evening of January 5th and perhaps at other times regarding his planning for January 6th. Sean Hannity may have been talking to Donald Trump about his January 6th plans the night before it happened. What did they discuss? There was this other part in the letter that also just made my head turn. It appears that Sean Hannity may have also been talking to members of Trump's cabinet about possibly removing him from office. Quoting the letter again, later on January 6th, you texted to Meadows press coverage relating to a potential effort by members of President Trump's cabinet to remove him from office under the 25th Amendment. As you may recall, Secretaries DeVos and Chao both resigned following the president's conduct on January 6th, as did members of the president's White House staff. We would like to question you regarding any conversations you had with Mr. Meadows or others about any effort to remove the president under the 25th Amendment. Man, let that sink in for a second. Was Sean Hannity having discussions with Trump's chief of staff and maybe others about removing Trump? Boy, you think you know a guy. And as bad as all that is, as worried as Sean Hannity seems to have been about Donald Trump, this last text I'm going to read you indicates he was worried Trump was not done on the 6th. This is really interesting. So the letter says that Hannity spoke to Trump on January 10th before sending this message to Mark Meadows and Republican Congressman Jim Jordan of Ohio. Quote, "Guys, we have a clear path to land the plane in 9 days. He can't mention the election again, ever. I did not have a good call with him today. And worse, I'm not sure what is left to do or say, and I don't like not knowing if it's truly understood. Ideas?" Wow. The idea that Sean Hannity was truly, appropriately worried about what Trump would do should scare all of us. Because it sure looks like he knew more about the plot than any of us. And the thing is, this is really just the beginning. Letter reads very much like a kind of warning shot. It's explosive, obviously, but it's really just a preview of the stuff they have. Sean Hannity knows what else they have, presumably, and with that leverage, the committee is asking nicely for Sean Hannity of Fox News to cooperate with his investigation.